risking it all to return home. Former Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf defies death threats to end his self-imposed exile. The former military leader wants to take part in upcoming elections, but with political, legal and security issues at stake, is it a gamble worth taking? This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Jane Dutton. Pakistan's former President Pervez Musharraf is back home and hoping to reassert his influence ahead of elections in May. He touched down in Karachi on Sunday morning despite the possibility of arrest and a threat from the Taliban to kill him. Musharraf left Pakistan in 2009, a year after being forced to step down. He is wanted in 2 murder trials, including the assassination of former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto. But he believes these and other charges, which he describes as trumped up and politically motivated, will be thrown out. Al Jazeera's Imran Khan is in Karachi.
The former president and General Pervez Musharraf has threatened to come back on many occasions, but he's finally here. Now, he arrives back to a very different Pakistan to the one that he left. When he left, he still had some semblance of political support, although he was a very unpopular figure. That political support has disappeared. Here in Karachi, he used to have the support of the main political party here, the MQM. What their sources are telling us is that they're not sure whether they will do any kind of deal with him. Now, in order to make this work, in order to have some sort of success in the general elections, Pervez Musharraf needs to make alliances. Now, at the moment, he doesn't have the kind of political clout that make those alliances worthwhile. He needs to make deals with people. What he said is he wants to try and unite those people that are undecided, those people that are against dynastic politics, the family politics of Pakistan. He's referring there to the Bhuttos and the Sharifs of this world. He also wants to unite the people that are frustrated with the corruption that's endemic within Pakistani politics. But he has contenders for that. Imran Khan, the Pakistani politician who used to be a former sportsman, has mass support when it comes to young people here. He has a vote bloc that he's relying on. He had a mass rally on Saturday which drew thousands of people. In contrast, former President Pervez Musharraf doesn't have that kind of support. Imran Khan for Inside Story.
Joining us now from Islamabad are our guests. Humayun Guha is a publisher and writer. He's also a good friend of Pervez Musharraf and helped him write his autobiography. Also in the Pakistani capital is Talat Hussain. He's a senior journalist at Express News and was executive director of AAJ Television, which was briefly shut down in 2008 for reportedly upsetting the then President Musharraf. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Humayun, now you're a good friend of his. You spent a lot of time together writing about his life. Why is he coming back? What is he telling you about his return?
Well, I have written an article today which has appeared in today's papers, Pakistan Today, which explains that, you see, to understand that, you have to understand the mind of a soldier, and the mind of a commando is the icing on the cake. And it's quite different from the civilian mind. And they believe after they are trained that they are born to die for their country, to try and save it from any enemy, whether within or without. And
so do you think it's his military calling, or is that more than a calling of their ego?
I didn't understand what you said.
I'm just wondering if it's more a military calling or an ego calling.
I don't think there's any ego involved here. There's a lot of patriotism involved over here. To some extent, yes, he would like to come and clear his name and face all the charges against him and all the accusations against him, correct or false, whatever they are, the courts will determine that. If you want to call it ego, but I don't think it's ego. It is every man's right or woman's right to clear his name or her name. So that he's coming for. And it's his military calling, it's his patriotic calling. It's any person, even if he's not in the military, if they're seeing their country decline so fast, as Pakistan has been, they would be worried. And if they feel they can do something, then they will come and do it. Whether they succeed or fail is in the hands of God. That's another matter.
Okay. Talat, what do you make of his return?
Basically, he spent a lot of idle years in UK and UAE, and he's the kind of person who doesn't want to sit idle for very long. He believes that he's a man of destiny, that he has a purpose in life. But his return to Pakistan is more to secure himself and, get to do something inside Pakistan. He's facing some very serious challenges here. He has not returned as an ex-commando or an ongoing commando, because commandos always remain commandos. He is returning as the head of a political party which doesn't quite exist on ground, but that's a separate matter altogether. He plans to contest an election. So he is returning primarily to take refuge in the protection of politics and trying to legitimize himself. But as I said, he has come back into turmoil for himself. He's wanted in murder cases, and there are people out there to get him.
And
so
are you out there to get him? I know
is,
he closed you down very briefly in 2008. Are you going to be kind to him?
No, I am not out there to get him at all. No, not at all. I think it wasn't just our channel. He closed down lots of other channels. There were lots of journalists who were out on the roads when he imposed emergency. One of the many egregious blunders that he committed. But really, there are some serious charges against him. He's wanted for Benazir Bhutto's murder. He's wanted for the murder of Baloch leader Bugti. And the courts that he tried to shut down and purge are out there, forward-leaning and restored. So it's not a question of anybody getting him. It's just that he's walking into a minefield of problems. But he had to do it because staying outside Pakistan, frankly, was continuing his state of limbo.
Okay, Humayun, just tell us very briefly, he's out on bail at the moment. What are the conditions of him getting bail, and how long is this going to last for?
Look, he's already got bail. He's already got bail in a number of cases, but this is short bail, 10 days, 2 weeks, things like that. And let's see what he can do, whether he can have it extended or the court cases will start or whatever, because you see, I couldn't quite understand the other gentleman because of the sound levels. But the point is, he's an accused in these cases. He's not a convict, and if we can clear his name, he'll clear his name. And the other thing that I said was that you have to understand him as from the mind of a military man and a commando. Of course, he's the head of a political party, but that political party has to become something on the ground. And with him overseas, it becomes difficult. He has to come here and do something. No doubt.
I mean,
but the mind still remains the same.
He's certainly got a tough job resuscitating that political party, isn't he? I mean, Pervez Musharraf has experienced the highs and the lows of being one of Pakistan's most powerful politicians. In 1998, General Musharraf was appointed army chief by then Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. But the two fell out. Musharraf seized power the following year, a day after Sharif sacked him. Musharraf was later sworn in as president but retained his position as army chief. Then came the events of 9/11 and Musharraf's support for George Bush's war on terror, making him deeply unpopular at home. 2007 proved a tumultuous year. Musharraf took on the judiciary, sacking judges and the Chief Justice, Iftikhar Chowdhury. He ordered security forces to storm the Red Mosque in Islamabad, resulting in the killing of more than 100 people. 2007 also saw the assassination of Benazir Bhutto, with Musharraf's government accused of willful failure over her protection. So, with pressure mounting over events during his time in power, Musharraf resigned and went back into exile. Now he's back. So Musharraf is back. I mean, hardly a rousing return, just a few supporters at the airport. He's got a tough job ahead of him, doesn't he?
He has a very tough job ahead of him. It's an exceedingly difficult job. You see, as I said to another channel today, the problem is that he has done two things at the same time. He's come too early and he's come too late. He's come too late because it's too late for him to come here and make any big impact on the elections. He says he's come to change the status quo. Well, it's elections, through elections, he can't do it this time. So it's too late. And it's too early to come because this is not the time when I believe there is going to be any such big civil disobedience and unrest in Pakistan, a Tahrir Square kind of thing where he can come and then try and come and head it and help people with that. I don't think that will happen until after the elections and the new government, and they will last about a year. Then there could be a lot of trouble. And that's the time, that would have been the time to come. So he's too late and he's too early. But the job is cut out for him now. He has to make his presence felt. He has to face all the charges in the courts. And then he has to see if he can still, by next year, have a presence and help in the change.
Okay, Talat, let's talk about what sort of support he's likely to have. Many Pakistanis have been turned off by him. But what about the US? What about the military? Does he still have the military support?
Well, the military certainly does not offer him any support. There was a lot of effort on the part of the current leadership to keep him away. I think there were contacts made with the UAE authorities. Even the Saudi king got involved. So the military didn't want him back, not because they fear him or they don't want him back as an individual. It is just that over the last 6 years or so, 5 years to be precise, military has tried so hard to basically wean itself away from the debilitating legacy of General Pervez Musharraf. General Musharraf was a very controversial person. He was deeply politicized and he manipulated the army as an institution to sustain himself in power. In the past 5 years, the current leadership has tried to plug military out of politics, tried to rehabilitate its image as a professional institution. With Musharraf coming back, all of that is now threatened because the ghosts of the past, of Kargil, of his coups, of his emergencies, of his assaults and the cases against him, this Pandora box gets opened up. And the army doesn't want that to happen again. They don't want to be rubbed the wrong way because of the deeds of a former chief of army staff. I think that's why they didn't want him back. And the other thing was that they couldn't guarantee his security. General Musharraf is a wanted man by the law and by the outlaws as well. Protecting him is a huge task. So I think army certainly does not support him. I think the US has also moved on. The US doesn't care. Probably Barack Obama wouldn't even remember who General Pervez Musharraf is. So that's where the army and the US factor stands as far as my estimate is concerned.
Okay, you're talking about threats, and Pakistan's Taliban has threatened to kill Musharraf.
Pervez Musharraf, you can see this death squad around me. We want you to surrender yourself to us. Otherwise, we will hit you from where you would never reckon.
A video said to be from the group was released on Saturday. It goes on to threaten the use of suicide bombers and snipers to kill Musharraf if he steps foot on Pakistani soil. Musharraf angering the Taliban and other groups by joining the US war on terror. And Musharraf gave this reaction shortly after arriving home to that.
I've put my life in danger by coming back to Pakistan. I was thinking that the government would call me back and would say, save Pakistan, but that did not happen. Today, my nation ordered me to come back. I came back putting my life in danger to save Pakistan.
Humayun, is his life in danger? I mean, I'm sure he's not a man to spook easily, but there are real security challenges that he faces, aren't there?
Absolutely, his life is in very grave danger. But then he knew about that and he took a decision, and that's his right to take that decision. Let's hope for the best. I mean, as a friend, I hope and pray that his life is not wasted like this.
I mean, if you look at what happened to Benazir Bhutto, I mean, if she had all the security in the world, excuse me jumping in here, so if somebody wants to get him, I mean, they can get him.
Well, as far as security is concerned, it can do only so much. When the other guy is a suicide bomber ready to lose his life, then there's very little security against that anywhere in the world. So, I mean, one can just hope for the best. But I don't think one can just sit there and keep wringing one's hands worrying about security. That's part of the game in Pakistan. If you choose to get into the ring, then you have to be able to face that. So let's not waste time worrying about security. We all know that. You just be sensible, look after yourself. Benazir had the same kind of threat. She made the mistake of standing up and sticking her head out of the car, which was not part of the protocol or what they had been agreed to. If she had not done that, she would have been fine. Now, if Musharraf also does something that stupid, then of course he has only himself to blame.
I'm sure. Now, Talat, if the Taliban doesn't get him, and obviously we hope they don't, what about the courts? I mean, we've touched on it very briefly, the two cases that he's facing. I mean, he had a pretty rotten relationship with the courts, with the judiciary.
Yes, I think a rotten relationship is an understatement to describe what transpired between him and the court and when he was in power. But you're absolutely right. The court has already declared almost all the actions that he took to be null and void and ultra vires and extra constitutional. I think sooner or later you would see somebody moving a petition in the courts asking the court to take him on the possibility of implementing Article 6 of the Constitution, which essentially means charging him for sedition. I think it's going to be a very tough ride for General Pervez Musharraf to get his names cleared from the cases that we referred to, and also to ward off the danger of people actually wanting him to hang for primarily subverting the Constitution. And the maximum punishment for subverting the Constitution is death or life imprisonment, depending on which way the court swings. So there are people out there, and remember, he's the only military dictator in the history of Pakistan who has lived to see the consequences of his coups. Others, frankly, the first one, Ayub Khan, lived very shortly, and then he was incapacitated. General Ziaul Haq perished in a mid-air crash. Musharraf is the only one who actually made two coups and then went into exile, which was not exactly a commando-like action. I mean, he kind of left Pakistan because he wanted to save his life, and now he's come back. And now he's come back basically to face the consequences of what he did in the past. So his is a very unique situation. Court ride is going to be very rough for him.
Yeah, it certainly is a unique situation. I mean, Humayun, Pakistanis, whether he goes to court or not, Pakistanis, I'm sure, need to find out what happened in the case of Bhutto and Akbar Bhutto so that they can move on.
Well, Pakistanis who are well informed and intelligent already have a very fair idea of what actually happened. But it has to be determined in a court of law. I totally agree. This court is comprised of judges against whom Musharraf took a lot of unnecessary action. It was his right to set the reference against the Chief Justice. That was constitutional. But the way they treated them afterwards was totally unconstitutional. So I just hope it does not descend into a vendetta, because whatever the past, a court, and especially the highest court of the land, is still supposed to dispense justice, and it's supposed to be blind. On that assumption, I think Musharraf would do all right, because only somebody who's fairly brainless will say that Musharraf was responsible for or had her Benazir killed or Akbar Bhutto killed. I mean, those idiotic charges. But they are charges for political advantage and for political gain. As far as subverting the Constitution and Article 6, we can go on and on talking about it. It's a very stupid article because it cannot be implemented simply because he didn't subvert the Constitution alone, if indeed he did subvert it. Remember, he never imposed martial law. There were lots of people who were involved with him in that government who are now in this power structure as well. And they will come into the loop also. So I think, pipe dreams are all very well, but you don't run countries on the basis of pipe dreams.
Well, one of the key questions in all of this, of course, is how will Musharraf fare in the upcoming elections and who's he up against? Well, there's the old adversary and two-time Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, head of the opposition Pakistan Muslim League N. Sharif returned from exile with Benazir Bhutto to contest the 2008 election, but Bhutto was killed before the polls were held. Cricket legend turned politician Imran Khan founded Tehreek-e-Insaf, or the Movement for Justice Party, some 15 years ago. He's now enjoying popular support, with rallies drawing crowds of more than 100,000. Then there is Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, the only son of President Asif Ali Zardari and Benazir Bhutto. He's too young to run for president, but is likely to start taking a more active role as head of his father's Pakistan People's Party. Talat, I mean, the whole thing about Pakistani politics is it's the deal-making, isn't it? I mean, is there any chance that Musharraf could be successful in forming some kind of coalition that could win the votes?
Look, let's call a spade a spade. You know, Pakistan has changed remarkably. We may not like the way democracy is evolving in Pakistan, but all over the world, this is the way history is marching. Gone are the days of individual saviors descending from the heavens and pulling countries out of quagmires. You got to stay with the system, you got to stay with the process, painful and troubled and sometimes disheartening as it is. You may not like what is there in the Constitution, but frankly, to suggest that constitutional articles are stupid really itself is contemptuous of the Constitution. And remember, neither me nor anybody else is going to decide that. The courts are going to decide that. We may not like the courts, but courts are there. They are the ultimate judge of it. Now, coming back into politics, Musharraf has to first get through the poll of a pile of cases. To reach the poll, he has to first get through the process of getting nominated and getting cleared to contest elections. As I said, Pakistan is, all politics is deal making, not just in Pakistan, elsewhere as well. But you got to have enough numbers, you got to matter politically to be able to make some deals. The names that you mentioned, frankly, the top two names, Nawaz Sharif and Imran Khan, they have been able to rebuild themselves and create a momentum for themselves. The country is preparing for elections. Democracy, with all its fallibilities and foibles and problems, is moving on. And I'm not going to sit here and judge the collective wisdom of the people and suggest that it's wrong. If this is what the people want, this is the way the country is going to go. General Musharraf is an
bring in
insignificant
what some of the people
factor.
Have been saying. Excuse me, jumping in there. Madida Sajil says, good luck that he's back. Well, good that he's back. He should stand trial as a war criminal. Iram Khan tells us Musharraf is the hope for Pakistan, the last hope. Mo Elm says he wasn't good enough and a very weak, sleazy president. He hasn't achieved any legacy to get him back in the game. He'll always be remembered for his stupidity and for the standoff against the lawmakers. And Karim Barij adds, Pakistan is a failed state, economically defunct and only kept alive by the West. I still don't get why he's returned. He must have had personal safety guarantees by the military. Humayun, that's a good last point. I mean, they're all good points, but that last point, I mean, he's saying it's a failed state. Is it verging on failed state? I mean, the economy is in disarray. You've got sectarian issues. You've got electricity outages. The list goes on.
You asking me? Well, I mean, if you judge it from the economic yardstick and the condition of the formal economy and the treasury, then it's come very close to being a failed state. And without handouts and without help from the donor agencies, it will be difficult for them to carry on. As far as providing amenities to the people, you mentioned electricity, there's natural gas also. There too, we are coming close to being a failed state. As far as providing security to the people is concerned, there too we are close to being a failed state. Railways are in bad shape, the airline is in bad shape. Very little is working. So yes, you can say, I wouldn't say it is a failed state, but it's very close to it, and we are in danger of becoming a failed state from that point of view. And then on top of that, there is this social contract of Pakistan has just evaporated. And that needs to be either retrieved or made again because, there are too many parochial and provincial interests and issues now which are at the fore, and national issues as such are in the background.
So everyone
yes,
agrees.
Pakistan is in danger.
You say Pakistani data, everyone agrees that these next elections are pretty crucial to the future of the country. Obviously, thank you very much to my guests in Islamabad, Talat Hussain and Humayun Gua, and thank you very much for joining us in this edition of Inside Story. Remember, you can find this program, many more, at aljazeera.com. Just follow the links for programs and Inside Story. Thanks again for watching. Goodbye for now.